In 2009, unusually intense solar flares occur in the Sun's atmosphere. This activity is noticed by Dr. Helmsley, who decides to visit India to meet with astrophysicist Satnam. Together they explore a copper mine, using an elevator that transports them 11,000 feet below the surface. Inside the mine's lab, Satnam shows Helmsley data proving that these solar flares are the largest recorded in history, causing the Earth's core to overheat. He demonstrates this by revealing a tank filled with boiling groundwater. Alarmed by the possibility of a global disaster, Helmsley hurries back to the United States to interrupt a major gala, where he informs Anheuser, the head of the presidential administration, of the crisis. 6 months later, in 2010, U.S. President Wilson addresses the G8 summit about the looming end of the world. The public remains uninformed, but the world's most influential people begin formulating plans. In a remote Tibetan valley, massive ark ships are constructed for the elite, though the locals are told that a dam is being built. Anyone unable to work is relocated, and only individuals with specific skills are permitted to stay. By 2011, tickets for the arks are being sold to the wealthy for €1 billion each. In the Louvre, Wilson's daughter, Laura, meets with the museum director to replace the Mona Lisa with a replica, aiming to protect it from extremists. By 2012, the general public remains in the dark, though news outlets start referencing the Mayan calendar and increasing fears about the end of the world. Some people, gripped by these beliefs, are taking their own lives. Cracks appear on California streets, dismissed by many as after effects of a minor earthquake. Meanwhile, passengers on a cruise ship are unsettled as the vessel seems to dip unusually low in the water. That evening, Laura receives a call from the Louvre's director, who reveals that they were misled about the real reason for moving the art. He plans to reveal the truth at a press conference, but before he can explain further, his car explodes, killing him. At the White House, Helmsley and Anheuser inform President Wilson that their initial projections were incorrect and that the global catastrophe is approaching sooner than expected. Laura interrupts them, demanding answers about the organization she's been involved with, forcing Wilson to admit the truth. Meanwhile, Jackson takes his children on a trip to Yellowstone, where they're puzzled by numerous helicopters and fencing around the lake area. Ignoring warning signs, they climb over the barriers and find the lake has dried up, surrounded by dead animals. While a mysterious man named Charlie watches from afar, the military arrives and removes Jackson's family, explaining they're geologists investigating the lake's strange behavior and warning Jackson to leave. Later, Helmsley contacts Satnam, who tells him he's had to close off the mine due to similar data from other countries. The Earth's crust is destabilizing, and evacuations must commence. Jackson and his kids go to a nearby camping site, where they are confronted by Charlie, who questions what the scientist told him and laughs as though he knew it was a lie. That night, Jackson overhears Charlie's apocalyptic radio broadcast and becomes curious. So he approaches him. Charlie shares a cartoon about the Mayan prophecy, convincing Jackson of a cover-up with a series of news clippings showing others who tried to expose the truth and died. Jackson sees that a former colleague passed away recently, and Charlie reveals this professor sent him a map with locations of government spaceships. The next day, California experiences stronger quakes, with a massive crack splitting a supermarket, though no one is injured. Jackson's ex-wife, Kate, calls, urging him to bring the kids back immediately. Meanwhile, Anheuser updates Wilson, saying that only 4 arcs are complete, which means not everyone can be saved. In a global leaders meeting, Helmsley reports they have just 2 or 3 days, prompting Wilson to initiate evacuation plans. After Jackson drops off the kids, his boss, a Russian oligarch named Karpov, calls, instructing him to take Karpov's twin sons to the airport for evacuation. One of Karpov's sons cryptically tells Jackson that he will die soon, just as a small quake shakes the area. Realizing Charlie may have been right, Jackson quickly rents a plane and rushes back to collect his family. At that moment, a stronger quake rocks California, causing houses to collapse. Jackson arrives in time to pick up his kids, Kate, and her boyfriend, Gordon. As buildings fall around them, streets fracture, and Jackson drives wildly to avoid falling debris. With the streets becoming crowded with escaping vehicles, Jackson drives through lawns and trees, eventually launching the car off a ledge. In downtown California, bridges and skyscrapers crumble, claiming thousands of lives. After a long drive, the group finally arrives at the airport, only to find the pilot has passed away. Gordon has taken a few flying lessons but lacks actual experience, so he nervously attempts to fly and barely manages to lift the family off just before the airport is destroyed. Before long, much of Los Angeles is submerged as the coastline vanishes under the sea. Later, the family stops at Yellowstone to find Charlie and his map, but Charlie isn't in his van. He's waiting on a mountain, watching everything end. Jackson drives up the mountain to locate Charlie, only to see birds frantically flying by as the hills begin to sink. While Jackson drives away, Charlie stays to keep broadcasting as a volcanic eruption hits, raining molten rocks that kill him and strike the van. Jackson manages to jump a widening crack, reaching the airport just in time, though he takes a while searching for the map, so long that the van finally falls. Thinking Jackson's lost, Gordon readies the plane. But at the last second, Jackson climbs out of the van and rushes to grab Kate's hand. Safe at last, the plane takes off just before the eruption catches them. As they check the map, Jackson realizes they must head to China, meaning they'll need a larger plane. Meanwhile, Anheuser and Helmsley watch reports of global disasters. Iconic landmarks are destroyed, millions have died, and hope dwindles. Helmsley wants to tell the public the truth, but Anheuser insists on waiting until the chosen are safely aboard the Arks. They inform Wilson it's time to leave, but he chooses to stay with his people. Anheuser assumes command, ignoring Helmsley's objections, and the plane departs with Laura, who receives a final goodbye call from her father. Wilson then publicly announces the truth to the world. Jackson's group reaches Las Vegas, where Karpov and his family are also stranded, as all flights are grounded. Karpov initially ignores Jackson's pleas to take his family, but when his pilot, Sasha, finds a suitable plane and requires a co-pilot, Gordon volunteers, prompting Karpov to accept. They board a large plane carrying cars, and despite being denied takeoff, Sasha and Gordon work together, dodging collapsing buildings and grazing a tower before setting course for China. When they pass Hawaii, they're horrified to see it fully engulfed in lava, leaving no structures intact. In Tibet, a monk named Nima gets a letter from his brother who works on the Arks, revealing the truth. Nima receives his master's blessing and leaves to retrieve his grandparents. In Washington, D.C., volcanic ash continues to fall. Wilson opens the White House for those seeking shelter and helps a little girl searching for her father. However, an earthquake strikes, collapsing the Washington Monument. In the Vatican, a mass prayer is interrupted by an earthquake, collapsing the building and killing thousands. A broadcast then reports tsunamis forming worldwide. A cruise ship out at sea is capsized by a massive wave, leaving the crew helpless. In D.C., Wilson regains consciousness amidst the ruins only to see a tsunami approaching, claiming the lives of any survivors. Helmsley learns that even the Ark's base will be underwater within 6 hours, as the Earth's crust has shifted, moving the North Pole to Wisconsin. Back with Jackson's group, Sasha reports that fuel is running low, forcing an emergency landing. Descending, they're surprised to find no ocean. The continental shift has brought them near the Himalayas, close to the Arks. The plane loses engines, and Sasha asks everyone to leave in a car through the cargo area. Gordon initially helps Sasha, but Sasha urges him to join the others. The families escape safely in a car while the remaining vehicles are lost. Sasha lands the plane, but it slides off a cliff and explodes, killing him. Soon after, Chinese helicopters carrying animals to the Arks spot the group. However, only ticket holders are allowed on board. Karpov leaves with his children and the dog, but he leaves Tamara behind, knowing she betrayed him with Sasha. The group wanders around aimlessly until they see a truck passing by, and Jackson throws a rock at it to make it stop. The driver is Nima, who agrees to give them a lift. Meanwhile, Helmsley's group also arrives in the area and sees several high-profile people, including the Queen and her dogs. Only 4 arcs have been completed, but the third one has been damaged by earthquakes, leaving many people, including Karpov, without permission to board. Helmsley and Laura feel disgusted when they realize that among the essential scientists, there are many wealthy people with no useful skills, while none of the Ark workers were given tickets. When Helmsley goes to his cabin, he observes that 10 people could fit there, yet they're prioritizing luxury over practicality. Just then, he gets a call from Satnam, who reveals that no plane came to rescue him as promised, and a tsunami is approaching his town. Satnam bids a final farewell before perishing with his family. Shaken, Helmsley rushes to check the new data and reports that they have only half an hour before the wave reaches the Arks. Outside, Nima arrives with the group, but his brother Tenzin insists on only taking family members. Kate begs him to at least take the children, and the grandmother scolds Tenzin, persuading him to bring everyone. As the Arks prepare to depart, people notice that the workers couldn't repair the damaged Ark, meaning its passengers are being left behind. A furious Karpov punches a guard to push his way through, and the crowd immediately follows him toward the nearest Ark. However, as the ship pulls away from the platform, some people try to jump, and a few fall to their deaths. Tenzin leads the group toward the same Ark through a safer alternative route. Tamara spots her dog with Karpov's children and whistles, calling him over. The dog quickly makes his way across a narrow passage, reaching her just as the gates close, and Tamara gives Karpov a parting gesture with the middle finger. Inside the Ark, Tenzin opens a hidden passage for the group, while Helmsley, watching people fall from the platform, reaches his breaking point. He contacts leaders from all nations, pleading with them to open the gates for the rest. Anheuser interrupts to remind him they have only 15 minutes before the wave arrives. Helmsley doesn't back down, speaking about the loss of humanity and mentioning what happened to Satnam. When Laura adds that Wilson would have opened the gates, the leaders finally agree to allow it. Inside, Jackson's group is put in danger while sneaking around the lifting mechanisms, which start moving as the gates open. Tenzin and Gordon are thrown off balance, barely holding on to the edge, but the gears injure Tenzin's leg. Jackson rushes to pull him up, saving Tenzin, but Gordon slips and is crushed in the gears. Jackson nearly meets the same fate, but a cable they used jams the mechanism just in time. The gate doesn't fully open, but it's still enough for the crowd to rush in. With only 4 minutes remaining until impact, the wave is already closing in, overtaking the mountains, where Nima's master rings the temple bell before his demise. The gates begin to close, but Karpov is still outside. At the last moment, he throws his children into the Ark before he falls to his death. Due to the cable from earlier, the gate doesn't close completely, preventing the Ark from departing. The technicians check the cameras and locate Jackson's group, prompting Helmsley to hurry to resolve the issue. At that moment, the tsunami finally reaches the Arks, killing all the remaining workers on the base. Water floods into Helmsley's Ark through the open door, and as panic spreads, the security system starts sealing the compartments one by one. The chamber with Jackson's group is swiftly sealed too, splitting them up and leaving the chamber flooded. Making matters worse, the wave slams a plane into the Ark, causing it to lose its supports and collide with the other vessels. They need to activate the engine to move, but it's impossible with the gate open. The tsunami shakes the Ark violently, carrying it toward Everest, meaning a crash is imminent. Helmsley reaches the chamber and finds Jackson's daughter with the dog, then contacts the rest of the group using the wall comms. He instructs Jackson on unlocking the lift mechanism, warning of the risk, but Jackson decides to take it and dives in. When Kate is momentarily distracted helping Tenzin with his injury, her son follows Jackson against his father's wishes, proving useful by holding the flashlight so Jackson can work with both hands. After much struggle, he finally removes the cable just as the bottom of the Ark collides with a rock formation. The gate finally closes, and the technicians can start the engine. However, the ship is moving too fast to turn it around in time. The Ark begins crashing against the mountain, with massive rocks falling on top of it, cracking some windows. Luckily, the reverse motion engages before more damage is done, and the Ark moves away from the mountain as everyone celebrates, and Jackson reunites with his family. Afterward, years are counted as after the flood. On day 27 of month 1, Helmsley and Laura share their first kiss. At that moment, the captain announces that the skies have cleared, allowing everyone to step outside and see the sun once again. As people in all 3 arcs enjoy the fresh air, Helmsley checks the satellite reports, learning that the water is receding and the entire African continent has emerged. The arcs set course there to begin anew. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.